Flam film fans, and this is what we just watched. It could be a movie, it could be a trailer, it could be a TV show, but this is about the thing that we just watched. I'm Chris.
Ned.
And we are missing Will. He decided not to watch what we just watched, which is Marvel Studios Episode 1, exclusively of Moon Knight, Episode 1, exclusively on Disney+. Spoiler warning, we're going to talk spoilers for the show. If you haven't seen it yet, hit pause, go watch it, come back, we'll wait. But we just watched Moon Knight Episode 1, except for Will. He didn't watch it yet. He's waiting for the whole series to come out, so we'll talk to him maybe after the whole series has come out. But, Ed, you're a big Marvel guy. You're a fan.
No, big goldfish guy.
You're a big goldfish guy. You're a big fan of Marvel Comics. What did you think of Moon Knight? So let's talk about the story of this episode. For this, it follows a kind of a down and out, not like I don't want to say loser, but he's kind of a loser character.
Schlub.
A schlub. That's a good word. Yeah. Named Steven. I don't remember his last name, but
Steven Grant.
Steven Grant. Okay. Who is working at a museum, has a lot of mystery about himself going on. He ties himself to the bed at night. He has sand around his bed to keep track of whether or not he leaves his bed. He tapes his door. He does a lot of weird stuff.
I wanted to ask you about that part.
Okay.
The sand, at least. When I first saw this, I thought that had to do with some sort of ritual. But then, obviously you get into the episode and he doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm like, as I'm rewatching it, that's more to see that he's not sleepwalking.
Yes.
It was like a very thin circle of sand that he could have easily stepped over.
Well, I mean, it's a very thin layer of sand, but also all of the other stuff that he does clearly isn't working, right? When he does have his night moments, because
the thing is, he doesn't know he's having these moments, right? He just thinks he's sleepwalking. Yeah,
it's hard to tell what he knows that he knows and what he thinks is happening. It seems like he thinks that he's sleepwalking or having some weird night terrors that do something to his brain. And
I wasn't completely clear on that, especially the first time watching it and just rewatching it now. It was a little clearer, but as a first time viewer, it wasn't that apparent to me exactly what was going on or what he was aware of.
Yeah, I don't think it was entirely clear of what he was aware of, but it was that he was aware of. It seems that he was aware of something happening when he sleeps, or that maybe his sleep cycle isn't exactly what he wishes it was. But yeah, the sand thing was I thought I got a couple minutes afterwards. I was like, why does he put, I thought it, you said it was a ritual thing that he did sand around his bed and it had something to do with Moon Knight or something. But then later on I was like, oh, it's so that he can see if there's footprints in the sand. That means if it's been disturbed, then he knows somewhere between his dream and his reality is messed up.
All I could think of is his bed sheets must be really sandy all the time, and that is gross.
Well, it's coarse and it's rough and it's irritating and it gets everywhere. So nobody likes sand.
Yeah.
It can make you do bad things. So Stephen Grant works at the museum in London. I wonder if London. I wonder if this is the same museum that the Eternals girl worked at. Didn't she work at a museum in London?
Or Wonder Woman? She worked somewhere.
Wonder Woman worked somewhere else. She worked in America. But
I have a feeling Wonder Woman worked in many museums all over the world.
Probably. But yeah, I do think the girl in Eternals worked in a museum in London. Probably. Different museum, though. Surely.
Sure.
But he works at a museum, and weird stuff also kind of happens to him at the museum. Someone refers to him as the wrong name. This attractive woman kind of is like, we're on for our date. And then he's like, huh? What? He doesn't really quite get it.
Yeah. But there's something I also forgot about on first view, but again, just caught it on the rewatch that scene just definitely popped, which wasn't that memorable of a scene, but they do drop hints here or there on. It'll be interesting to rewatch this series to see like what
other hints there were.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really interesting hints and stuff. It is a very good mystery that's around this character in this first episode. I thought that was really a great way to introduce this character, because this is a 6 episode series, and they did a good job of introducing a lot of that mystery, but also revealing a couple things about it. I think, like, not too much. There was especially later on when he's in Germany and running away, driving the truck. But we'll kind of get to that. So
all those poor cupcakes.
That's what that was. Now I get it. That made more sense now. That ad I sent to you, I was like, I don't understand this ad, and now it makes sense because you. It was the.
I forget you sent that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. I sent there was an advertisement on Facebook. It was just a picture of a cupcake, and it said Marvel's Moon Knight. And I was like, I don't understand the cupcake reference. But now it has gotten me to remember it was the cupcake truck.
Which I don't get what the point of using that for the ad.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like a weird thing. It's Moon Knight is full of weird stuff. So we kind of get an introduction of Steven at the museum. He you almost think he's a tour guide because he's like talking about all the exhibits.
I'm obsessed with like Egyptian
mythology,
history, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, history, mythology of Egypt, and but he's just a snack salesman. He just sells he just sells chips.
He just works at
he's a concessionaire.
The gift shop of the museum, and okay. But did you have anything else to say about Steven?
I mean, other than that, he's kind of just not a cool guy.
Schlemiel or Schlemazel?
Yeah, okay. A Schlemiel or a Schlemazel, I guess. That's a good way to look at him.
So actually, before that, I didn't know. Just in introductory terms, the very opening of the episode, we meet Ethan Hawke's character, who is even more shrouded in mystery.
Yes.
With that opening scene where we see him smash some glass and dump it into his sandals before he steps in it.
Mm-hmm.
As sort of like a self-flagellation type ritual. And do you recall that character's name?
I don't.
Let's see. As Arthur Harrow.
Okay.
Arthur, yeah.
Is there something about that specifically you want to talk about?
Oh, no, it was just how we're introduced to that character. He has the scales of justice, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not literally, but scales.
Yeah.
On his forearm.
Scales of judgment, I believe.
Sure. To judge people. I'm even less familiar with this character. I'm assuming he is in the comics. But great casting on that part. I'm trying to think. I guess I was wondering, because again, I know very little about Moon Knight, but apparently Steven or whatever his other personas are inhabited by some sort of Egyptian god.
Yeah, I think it's like an Egyptian god or
something.
I think Ethan Hawke's character mentions like an avatar or something like that. A person. A worker, like not like a worker, but like I said, like an avatar or a being on Earth who embodies the god.
Inoshu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Possibly.
Khonshu.
Koshu. Sounds right.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with Koshu.
But I was wondering with Ethan Hawke's character, if he too was also directly influenced or taken over or whatever by the parallel opposite of some Egyptian god or whatever, or if he's just acting
he does
seem
to be acting as a envoy of Amit, I think is the name that he used. AMM.
I think so.
IT. And like that seems to be what he's working as. This was a character. So for me, this character, I was very curious about, because I don't know much about Moon Knight either. He seemed like it could have been, or it could be that this character is almost a guide for the character, almost like, because he is also still kind of shrouded in mystery about what his deal is, because he had a great opportunity in the museum near the end to kind of get Steven and get what he wanted, but like, because he had him there, he was like holding him, he like was right there, but he didn't do anything about it. So and he like had the scales, and he's like, there's chaos in you. Like that felt like it could have been almost a not an adversarial thing, but maybe a, like, I don't want to say mentor, but like pushing him, guiding him in the right direction thing. Like, and then, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the character all that well. I thought maybe that's the way that they were going to go with it. Very likely he's also probably the villain of the whole series.
That's how they're playing it. I don't know. I'm still like expecting a twist somewhere.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Because again, not being familiar at all with this, or any of the Moon Knight universe characters. So, but yeah, I was just thinking if it's possible, if he's like the direct opposite of Moon Knight, if he is the villain, it'll be interesting to find out whether or not he truly is the villain. The few things I've heard about Moon Knight, and this is like a broad generalization of the character, but he's sort of a mix of a supernatural Batman and Punisher, and we were also getting hints of Venom in this too.
With
a lot of the voiceover.
There are hints of Venom when he has the voice in his head that's talking kind of not very nice about Steven. I'm sure maybe the voice is a little bit nicer to the other people in his head, but he's definitely a little bit meaner to Steven.
Before we leave that topic, I wanted to... Did the voice of, I'm guessing, Moon Knight, the controlling voice in his head, at least, did that sound familiar to you at all?
It did not. I know, like, I did watch the end credits and the name came up. It didn't sound or seem like it was familiar, but... I
forgot to look that up because it was bugging me, and I'm pretty sure it's not Oscar Isaac, right?
No, it's a different voice. Yeah, it's a different voice, because it said at the end credit, it's like a name, and then it says as, and then the character's name.
Sort of sounds like the guy that would voice Optimus Prime. I forget his name, but he's a pretty prolific, cartoon voice actor. May not be him, but it was interesting.
I'm not sure who it is. We could look it up, but we're just here to talk Flim Flam, so we're just gonna roll with it. But speaking of Ethan Hawke's character, we get this moment because Steven goes to sleep, and then he wakes up in a field. This was a little weird for me. He wakes up in a field in Germany, apparently. After some time, he doesn't know how he got there, what happened. But what was weird was when he woke up, right? Mm-hmm. He woke up and he was like facing forward, and he was like, right? And then all of a sudden behind him, there's a building. Like, didn't it feel like he woke up in a field and then like a minute later, there's a building behind him? That was a little jarring of a cut. But But yeah, he wakes up in the middle of a field, and then all of a sudden there's soldiers that attack him.
I didn't catch that the first time because it was more jarring to see him with the broken jaw.
Oh yeah,
and when he first wakes up, and I don't know, is that a natural way to fix a dislocated jaw? Maybe, but I was questioning whether or not he has healing powers. So I guess we'll find that later. But
Antivenom does.
As he's right. So as he's like getting up and looking around, it looks like an empty field. So I was a little caught off guard because I'm like, wait, they just showed us this empty field, and then they cut again, and there's this massive castle behind him.
Yes,
that looks like it's right behind him. So I'm not familiar with. I was actually looking up the director and writer of this show, so I've had my quibbles, especially I guess with Hawkeye prior to this. So there's the little things here on the shows that are really just kind of little nags for me, but that was a pretty jarring.
It was a jarring cut. It's for me. It was too. I was like, "Where did that building come from?"
Worst I've seen, but right, it just happened to be there.
Just building there.
But we don't know how he gets there, how long he's been there. Apparently, he's looking for and came into possession of a scarab. But a chase ensues. Cupcakes are wasted.
Cupcakes. That was so. I want to talk about this because this was the cool moment in this was you see the like he blacks out, like the voice is trying to like take control or like is doing something that's causing him to like black out, and then he wakes up, and like I thought it was really cool that they kept it to his perspective of everything, because it would have been very easy for him to like black out and then show cool stuff, and then like he comes back and he's like or like do that kind of a weird thing, because I think that's something that they might. I haven't seen it yet, but that movie that's coming out, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where like she can
that looks cool.
Kind of do this, kind of does the same kind of thing where like it's her, but she like pulls in different personalities to fight or do stuff, like that kind of a thing. Like they could have done something like that where like he switches, he like hits a switch and he fights, and then the switch goes off. But in this one, like he passes out and then like he wakes up, and like just like for him, you the viewer, it's like no time has passed at all, but all of a sudden he's holding a gun, or like 3 guys are dead, or there's a truck exploding in front of him, and you're like, this like everything's crazy, but you don't know how it happened or what happened.
Which is a cool idea, and the first time or two they did it, I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. And I understand why Disney would have to do that, because they're trying to avoid, not that it matters because it's on their own streaming, but the hard R, bloody, gory stuff that apparently Moon Knight's very well known for. But when it's happening in the middle of an action scene and he literally blacks out for what's maybe 5 seconds, and then he snaps back to it, I'm like, oh, they could have just shown it to us. And I'm sure they will get into more action heavy scenes later in the series, but for me, they were like kind of leaning on that very heavily, and like in the middle of an action scene where it's happening multiple times in the action scene. So I'm trying to figure out, is Steven the dominant personality for this character? Like you figure if he is in that much of imminent danger that the more seasoned combatant would take over for a while, but so it would have been cool to have seen more.
It would be, and I think I do think that there will be. I'm hoping that there will be more action scenes with the characters. I think, as far as like who the dominant personality is, I think what we're being shown is when Steven is in control, and that like maybe we'll see like when a different character is in more control, and we'll get like an episode that kind of centers around that character, or that kind of thing.
If there are only 2 personalities, maybe it would be cool to see 3 episodes from one personality and 3 episodes from another as the story progresses. So we just see one. side or the other. And because there's definitely one side that I'd rather see more than the other. I don't know.
But I think there is definitely hints that the other personality does have times where it's the dominant personality. Like you saw after the scenes in Germany, when he gets back to his apartment and he wakes up and he finds the cell phone that he has a cell phone. It's got a bunch of missed calls. He doesn't know whose cell phone it is, where the car, there's car keys. He doesn't own a car. He doesn't know anything about this. So it seems to me like that personality also has at times been the dominant personality, but also is kind of hiding it themselves from Steven.
So I'm assuming Steven is the dominant one by far, only because this character seems to have a full-time job and sort of relationships with a coworker and a really mean boss. And I guess we'll see. But I'm going into this assuming that it's not evenly split, that Steven is the dominant personality here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. And like you, I'm trying to go into this series blind, and I was trying to read up on some of the Wikipedia stuff for, trying to get character names or whatever. And I already read like 2 lines of like too much stuff that I really just don't want to know anything about.
Yeah, there's a lot of spoilers out there that probably you could find about what arc this might be from the comics.
Yeah, and it's not so much story-wise, it's just about the character, which, again, not really. I don't think I've ever read a Moon Knight book, so I'm just learning about this character as I go, and which is kind of nice, growing up, comic book kid, a Marvel guy. There's finally a show or whatever. It was like that with Guardians of the Galaxy too, but it's cool to finally watch something that's new to me.
Eternals wasn't new to you? You knew all about the Eternals? You knew all?
I watched that from my brain, dude.
Yeah.
Eternals was like Guardians of the Galaxy, but without any fun or humor. And that's how you get
Eternals.
And that sounds like a blast and a half.
So that's pretty much most of what I want to talk about. I have a couple other things. We know there's at least 2 other voices, because I do believe that the other character that is portrayed by at the end. So at the end of the episode, we do see the reveal of Moon Knight. We see the other personality inside of Steven, inside Oscar Isaac, who is actually an American. I was really excited that there was finally a British superhero being played by an American. We've got all these other American superheroes. Superman's played by a British guy. Spider-Man's played by a British guy. We got who else?
Man.
Who?
Batman.
Oh, Batman is now, yes. Before it was
back again to being a British guy.
Again to being a British guy. And we were like, I was like, yes, an American playing a British superhero. But no, he's also part American. He's got an American accent and he's got a British accent. He's both. But
I think he's probably an Egyptian superhero.
That's also true.
Doing a really bad British accent.
Doing a bad American accent.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. But I'm digging the casting so far, which is interesting because I know, I don't know if it's coincidental, but Oscar Isaac, I think he famously said he was not interested in doing any Star Wars shows. Only because he's very good friends with Pedro Pascal, who is the Mandalorian. So I thought it was interesting that he agreed to do this series. Probably more so because he only did it because it's a limited series so far. But who knows? I'd be shocked if he didn't show up in some movies, or at least cameoed in them.
That is
we'll see.
Kind of a point I wanted to bring up. Do you know when the series is slated to end? May 4th.
May the 4th be
May
with you.
4th. Yes. The series is slated to end May 4th, which is 2 days before May 6th, which is when Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is supposed to drop.
Oh.
So, speculation, pure speculation, is there going to be some Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight, like just hint after credits scene at all?
I'm going to say no, only because I've heard zero about that, but it is entirely possible. If I had to bet on it, I'm going to go with no.
Okay, because I'm thinking, I'm leaning towards no, but I'm thinking there might be, just because it's a 6-episode series. They could have clearly gone 8, and they definitely wanted it to end 2 days before Multiverse of Madness. If they want, like, they could have either started it sooner, started it later, let it go,
That's
like
true.
Overlap.
And there's a reason why Kenobi isn't debuting on May the 4th, which would be perfect. I forgot what date it is, but it's clearly not. Mm-hmm. I think it's coming up on an actual anniversary for Star Wars. But anyway, to your point, I do know that critics did receive the first 4 episodes of the show to review. So they have not seen the last 2. So that could lend credence to your theory there, pal.
I have. It's a small theory, but it's a good one. I think.
I mean, basically every show except Falcon and Winter Soldier is alluded to the multiverse, right? In some way. Loki for sure. WandaVision at the end. Mm-hmm. I guess it didn't directly imply until we saw later with No Way Home and now the new Strange trailers that there is a connection there with Wanda and the multiverse.
I mean, Hawkeye didn't really have anything to do with the multiverse.
Right, Hawkeye too.
And I don't know, was there another series?
So any of the human heroes have no connection with the multiverse?
Yes, none of the human heroes.
Oh. We don't get to see Black Widow with her pea shooters.
What If definitely did hint at the multiverse.
I mean, that is what it is. It is the multiverse.
It is.
And I was wondering if they, if that show was more of a testing ground. I mean, obviously the multiverse was already planned. It was already in motion. But I wonder if What If was sort of like, wouldn't this be cool if this happened? Because really, this is where we're going to go with all of this. Maybe they were just prepping people for this because it can be a little weird and jarring.
Yeah. And yes. So, and then the only other note I had here was Fight Club ? Did you get any Fight Club vibes from this first episode?
Tyler Durden.
A little Tyler Durden. I think, again, the date. Oh, speaking of the date, I have to. Did he never look at like anything that would say what day it was? Like he went through the entire day and never saw it say, "Oh, it's actually like."
Because he was looking at his phone. He's like, "Oh, here's a call," not realizing what day or time it was. So I'm
nah, you can't skip 2 days, look at your phone, and be like, think your phone is wrong. Like you think everything else is lying to you.
Right. So
that's just one of those conceits you have to be like, I guess he'd never realized to look at a calendar.
No, sorry. Again, not even the calendar. It's right on your phone as you turn it on. You have the time and the date.
That's the time.
We see that he has a smartphone. You know, if he was using an old flip phone, maybe that's believable. I would buy that his character does use a flip phone, but we clearly see him using a smartphone.
Maybe
that's a conceit I will make for horror movies, which even horror movies have addressed, like cell phones now. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're not getting any reception.
Yes,
I can buy that. Not so much for this, but I'll let it slide. I'm ready to see where this goes.
Yeah, Fight Club vibes with the date. When she like kind of like is flirting with him and he's like, huh? Like he got the like Tyler Durden, like suave guy probably did some like the suave personality came in, flirted, and she was like, "Oh, really excited." And he's like, "I don't remember any of that." Or like the same thing with like when he blacks out and remembers, and he fights or kicks ass. But I'm excited.
Big Bubs.
Yep. So you're excited to see more of this?
I'm interested. I speaking of conceits, I know that this is essentially a pilot episode and you have to just kind of roll with it. So a common issue I've had with a lot of the Marvel stuff, it's weird. I don't know. Like, I feel like even these limited series where I feel like there's a lot of filler in there, and I did feel a little bit of filler in this episode. So I'm wondering if like 6 episodes will feel like filler. Maybe this would have been better as a movie or just better as 4 episodes. So we'll see. Again, maybe it's not helped by the fact that we don't see Moon Knight till the very end, and then it just cuts. So I'm hoping we get to see more of the actual character and more just finding out and fleshed out, characterizations about the main stars of the show.
Well, we've got 5 more episodes to go, so I think they've got plenty of time to tell us more about it, show us more of what it is that Moon Knight does, what he can do, what his superpowers are, other than just hunching things. So far, that's kind of all he's done, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Beat up a jackal.
And I guess he's got symbiotic bandages.
Symbiotic bandages.
I don't know how that works.
Right.
But
the costume it just shows up.
Yeah. So
like a symbiote. Venom? Like a Venom symbiote.
Respawn's cape.
Or an Iron Man suit when it just has the nanobots.
Don't get me started on all those nanotechnology. I like just full armor, all like mechanized, and it's like a process.
Yeah, when it had the whir, like the whir,
Yeah,
it didn't have that so much. All right, so is that it for Moon Knight? Anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about specifically?
Yeah, just 2 quick points.
Okay. Let's go.
The director, Mohammed Diab, I was looking him up. Apparently, he directed 1, 3, 5, and 6. So he didn't direct 2 episodes of this series. So I think it's safe to assume that's his vision. He's an Egyptian director. I don't think he's had any American made or, released films. So this is really his first American project, which is interesting. Not being familiar with his work, I thought he did a solid job, aside from the mansion just appearing, randomly in the field. And the not his fault, but some of the car chase CGI looked a little dodgy to me.
Yeah. The trees falling kind of.
Yeah, and the trucks or what the SUVs kind of, whatever.
But also not his fault. That's definitely
also not his fault, but
budget Marvel Studio kind of thing.
Right. And I believe the show is written by, in part, I don't know if he's like the show creator, Jeremy Slater, who has credits for episode 1 and episode 6 as a writer. So he's not really involved.
So he's like the J.J. Abrams of the show. He gives you the start and gives you the end, and he's like, you figure out how to get there.
Figure it out. I guess.
We'll tell you how to.
Hope that's not the case. Man, a huge JJ guy up until Rise of Skywalker. But I don't know if this will maybe encourage you. Mr. Slater is the writer of The Lazarus Effect that starred Olivia Wilde. I think it was more of like I'm forgetting the older movie where they like kill themselves and then they get brought back to life.
Flatliners.
Yeah, so I think that's what this movie's like. I don't know.
I remember that because there was that one movie we watched, and the guy. Oh, it was. Did we just watch? Was it in Never Stop, Never Stopping, where the guy's like, I like flatlining? It was Delaney's character. Right. He's like I'm a flatliner.
Yes. So I think that's what that movie's like. I'm not sure. I could be way off because I've never seen it, but from 2015. He wrote Fantastic.
Oh. Okay. I mean, that movie probably had like a million people as writers, though. Is he
probably?
I feel like that movie was written by committee. So
I can check real quick. Let's see. A screenplay by Jeremy Slater, Simon Kinberg, and Josh Trank. So I know that Simon Kinberg came in to do rewrites. So we'll just leave that at that. He did a small movie called Pet, which I actually did see and was kind of weird. He did Death Note for Netflix, which did not get great reviews, but I think that's coming mostly from the fan base that's like very protective of the anime.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be from the people who are protective of the anime. The show is the anime is very long, and like to try and condense it into a 2-hour movie is tough. I didn't hate Death Note, the movie. It did get me to watch the anime because I was like, this is kind of weird, but it did to have the majority of what but
again, you're condensing everything into a movie. So he did that one. Let's see. And he is currently working on, actually, before I jump into that, he also wrote for the Exorcist TV show, which I didn't know was a thing. The Umbrella Academy, which is an okay show. He's working on the upcoming Mortal Kombat sequel. And one I'm unusually excited for, if this is what I'm thinking about, is the upcoming give me one sec, Coyote versus Acme, which if I'm remembering correctly just got a bunch of like our favorite actors involved, like Will Forte and
hold on, I'm just picturing what Coyote versus Acme could be. And is it like a courtroom drama about the Wile E. Coyote suing Acme and like,
you know what, you may not be far off
for not being able to catch the Roadrunner?
I'm leaning more towards that.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm trying to remember who else got. I think Andy Samberg was cast in this. I could be wrong, but I think if I'm remembering correctly, he was, and that's why I'm excited about that. So I don't know. So we'll see. Moon Knight.
So, it seems like they've got a bunch of okay people to be doing this. Is that what you've got out of this? Like, the writer has been like, has done some okay stuff, and the guy who's directed has done nothing really
that's the thing.
noteworthy.
Like, you never know about this stuff.
So, I mean,
I just want to give like a very good example of that. Just because you don't want to judge a writer by his.
I mean, you also don't want to just judge a director by the only things he's done. I mean, we watched Peter Jackson's first feature film. We watched Bad Taste. And then someone was like, hey, in 10 years, this guy, he's going to do Lord of the Rings.
Right. There you go. Another example that popped into my head, Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries, which is like critically acclaimed. Was written and the showrunner and writer was Craig Mazin. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he also wrote movies such as Rocket Man, starring Harlan Williams from 1997, not the newer movie. He wrote Scary Movies 3 and 4. The Hangovers Part 2 and 3, so not the first one. And he just wrote a critically acclaimed miniseries that was apparently a passion project for him. So, who's to say?
Don't judge a writer by the last thing that they wrote. judge them by the most recent thing.
Or do in his respect, I guess.
I guess. And was there another point, or was it just just the director and the writer? Those were your 2 points.
I would just like to see what the creators have done prior to maybe set expectations. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good to know. It's good to see what they've been doing and what how that might relate to their work on this also. Because again, like you said, the writer has a little bit of comic book movie experience, that kind of thing. So we'll see. And the Egyptian director having probably a connection to the mythology of the character and being able to bring that to the character is probably a good thing for the series. But I think we're just going to wrap it up here. This has been We Just Watched with the Flim Flam Film Fans. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Hit the bell button for notifications on all the things Flim Flam. And to hear all about the things that we just watched, leave a comment below with your complaints and all the things that we got wrong about the series. And this is the Flim Flam Film Fans. Good night.